Welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we will tell you about the best, scariest horror movies from the 1980s. So before starting, please like the video and subscribe to our channel for future updates. The 80s were a phenomenal time for aficionados of the gruesome, the gory, and the ghoulish. Both independent and mainstream cinematic offerings delivered chills that stayed with you long after you'd left the theater and curled up in bed, wondering about what might be lurking in your closet, or just outside your window. In honor of an era that took major risks with the malleable horror genre, we present a ranked rundown of the 10 best horror films of the 80s. Here is the list of the 10 best scariest horror movies from 1980s. Let's start. Number 10, Evil Dead 2. Brace yourself, those who have never tangled with Evil Dead 2 before. If you've already seen The Evil Dead, well, some of this might come off as familiar. And yes, it really is all but identical in content to the first film. And yet, that's what makes its crucial differentiations, the decisive ways in which director Sam Raimi makes this its own gory, glorious movie, all the more impressive. Ash's second trip to the cabin in the woods promises that he'll be dead by dawn and that his companions will be decimated. Well, the Deadites who made that claim were half right at least. This is where Ash gets his famous chainsaw hand and inaugurates it with the blood of a few white-eyed banshees. Number 9, Near Dark. As one must have expected from a vampire film directed by Kathryn Bigelow, Near Dark is quite fascinated with pack mentality and the idea of the alpha male. It's a young woman who turns our main protagonist, Adrian Pastar, into a bloodsucker, and from there, he's whisked off with her brood, including lead vampire Lance Hendrickson and Bill Paxton, as the wildcard, to go on a feeding tour in their retrofitted Winnebago. It's the underlying power struggle, the feeling of vampirism at once liberating one part of our hero while fatally diseasing another part, which fuels the pulpy drama of Bigelow's bloody supernatural road noir. Bigelow looks at the surprising fragility that comes with vampirism. At least one vampire gets burnt, cut up, and otherwise pained. But she also builds a frankly sexual, desire-fueled romance between the leads that feels authentically expressed. Number 8, Possession. Possession is a film of escalating tones that build without a break between the tones, until it's ultimately a cacophony of high-pitched screams. Unlike an argument that gets bigger and bigger to the point where someone leaves, smokes a cigarette or takes a walk, and then comes back and apologizes for letting things boil over, Possession has an argument that boils over, spills blood onto the floor, goes out the door to have sex with a Lovecraftian monster, has a cruel and goopy bodily breakdown in a subway and a heightened showdown at the Berlin Wall. Number 7, The Fly. Jeff Goldblum is immediately engaging and charming in a lonely, obsessive way as Seth Brundle, a genius scientist who allows a cute, flirtatious reporter, Veronica, Gina Davis, to follow his creation of a teleporter. That's what makes what happens to him in The Fly so devastating. The way most people get about The Notebook, I get about The Fly. When an accident leads to Seth's DNA getting spliced with the DNA of a fly, Brundle sees a boost in his abilities but soon begins to mutate and deteriorate into a monster. Number 6, The Thing. If you're making a case for remakes that vastly improved upon the original work, look no further than The Thing. Adapted from John W. Campbell's novella, Who Goes There?, which was previously adapted by Howard Hawks and Christian Nyby, as The Thing from Another World in 1951, the 80s version remains the preferred and iconic version of the story today. And how could it not? It featured Carpenter in his prime, riding high with Russell from their experience on Escape from New York the year before. The amazing practical creature effects were churned out by Oscar winner Rob Bottin with an assist from the legendary Stan Winston. Tobe Hooper worked on a draft of the script, and the one and only Ennio Morricone composed the score, one of the few times that Carpenter hasn't done the music himself. And that's just the cast and crew of the film. The story follows a tough crew of researchers at an Antarctic station who come into contact with a dangerous alien shapeshifter. The Thing could arguably be called the best sci-fi horror film of the 80s. Number 5, The Shining. In hindsight, the only way to really make a great movie out of a Stephen King novel is to offer a counterpoint to his masterly, if not exactly sophisticated brand of storytelling. The Social Network needed both Aaron Sorkin's cynical, prodding screenplay and David Fincher's empathetic direction to ascend to such a distinct place in modern American cinema. Similarly, The Shining needed King's macabre, imaginative source material as well as Stanley Kubrick's cerebral form of visual storytelling and severe lack of romance to become what it is. Then again, of course, The Shining could be seen as a myriad of things in its alluring, enigmatic expressiveness. At first, it's just the greatest ghost story to ever be put to film, and yes, I'm counting The Innocents, the original The Haunting, and The Changeling when I say that. And then, with each viewing, something startling and new comes to the fore. At one point, the movie seemed to be the perfect vision of repressed, enraged masculinity. The beast inside the family man allowed full reign after years of remaining dormant. Number 4. Friday the 13th. Despite decades of enhanced digital effects and the slasher genre coming to a close, Friday the 13th still shows its diplomacy as a trailblazer for the genre. While the overall mystery may have been somewhat of a cheat, the attention on kills and pushing a vengeful killer on unsuspecting teens made it an early blueprint for future slasher and horror movies to follow. The Tom Savini gore effects were also a key factor in setting this film up for success. When characters are killed throughout the movie, there is more of a focus on showing the final damage and gore in full light. Number 3. Child's Play. In a stroke of twisted genius, the story follows a serial killer named Charles Lee Ray who is fatally shot by a homicide detective in Chicago. While that would be an okay start for a slasher film, the fact that his soul is transferred into a child's doll really sets the foundation for the entire franchise. What follows is a tense, at times terrifying thriller in which the newly purchased doll comes to life and starts committing murder and mayhem while ordering around his new owner, Andy. Number 2. Poltergeist. Whether you give more credit to director Tobe Hooper or writer, producer Steven Spielberg, it's undeniable that Poltergeist would have come together without input and influence from both. From Hooper we get some of the most creative horror films of the decade, from scares that shake the foundations of the Freelings' cursed suburban home to a two-word utterance made instantly iconic: "They're here." Number 1. Nightmare on Elm Street. It's the 1980s. Being basic just won't do. Freddy Krueger is a walking night terror. Where one can avoid ravenous sharks by skipping the ocean or hockey-masked machete wielders by ditching the camping trip, you cannot hide from the pedophile slasher who prowls the dreamscape. Sooner or later, your eyes are gonna shut. You will sleep. You will fall under his 5 fingers of death. Krueger's threat is devious, perverting the one place every human must return night after night. So that's it for today. What did you think of our video? Which one was your favorite movie? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed watching this video and would like to hear more from us, please subscribe to this channel and turn on notification bell before you go. Thank you for watching us.